Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Awakening Her podcast. How are you doing, my friend? Oh my goodness, I am so excited you're here. I'm so excited I'm here. Am I right? Meaning, it has been a while since we have done an episode. I'm going to give a little bit of an update on what's happening with that, the future intentions of this show, and so on. But I'm just so excited to be here. Today, we are diving into something that is just such an important part of the journey, and it feels like the perfect thing to talk about today. I've just got back from the retreat. We also have my book coming, and the reason I'm mentioning that is the book is based around the process of transformation. And today we're talking about moving from darkness into magic and the power of the process. And so it really weaves in everything that I'm immersed in right now. The retreat, my own rebirth, as I've been talking about, this year in itself has been a washing machine of a rebirth. I'm going to talk in this episode about some of the insane things that are happening all of a sudden in my life as my identity changes, things that are blowing my mind. There's just going to be a lot. It's going to be a mix of an update, but also talking about from darkness to magic, from being stuck to feeling like you've just burst through into this new level. We're going to talk about the power of continuing on in your process, moving through your process, and there's just going to be so much in here. Examples, stories, tools, all the things. So if you feel like I know you just already can relate by everything I'm saying, but I was going to say, if you feel like you've been in a dark spot or unclear, whether recently or in the past, or maybe right now, if you have felt stuck or heavy or disconnected, this episode is going to really help to bring you back into alignment and back into empowerment. And if you do feel in your life like you're on the upswing, like you've been feeling really good, this is really going to help also to solidify and activate that magic in your life. So I'm really happy that you're here. And before we dive in, I just want to say, I'll probably talk about it a little bit in the episode, but the retreat that I just got back from, you guys that were there, you know what I'm talking about. It was so powerful. And if you want to be in on the next retreat, if you want to be with the insider information in the know as soon as we have dates, locations, everything released for the next one, if you want to be the first to know, get on the retreat waitlist. It is in the show notes. I just want to say that first of all, because if you're on my Instagram at this time, I'm posting pictures. There's lots more to come. We're sharing. It was so powerful. And if you want to make sure that you're there and you have all the information first, get on that waitlist. You guys will also get the best and lowest available price, as well as you'll get to jump in a week before the public if you desire to, and that's going to be for the 2026 retreat. So get on the wait list. We are planning it already, so I'm really excited for that. It was so life-changing for myself, for the people that were there. It was incredible. So I would love to see you in the next one, to hug you in person, to have laughs and tears and whatever else happens. I'm so excited. So if you want to add your name to that list, make sure to check it below and add your name right now. Okay, so I think that's all I'm going to say in the intro. We're going to talk about from dark to light, from yin to yang and yang to yin, and all the metaphors and all the things. And we are going to help you move through your transformation no matter where you're at. So let's dive into today's episode. Take a sip of water, drop your shoulders, and let's do this. So one thing that I like to say or like to know within my own life is that life is not meant to always be light. Even from a spiritual perspective, even when I am channeling or I'm hearing my own spirit team or I'm working with a client, the messages are never about you should be happy all the time. Life is always great. And we see this in nature where life goes through seasons. There are always yin and yang and in between. There's grayscale, there's colors, there's physical seasons, there's up, there's down, there's flood, there's drought. Life is duality. Life is expansion and contraction. Life is highs and lows. Even if somebody is classified or considered to be abundant, there's going to be times in their life, even months in their life, where you're making more money or you're making slightly less. There are times when you have lots of friends and times when it feels like, your friends have moved away or you don't have as many. There are times when you go in and out of, maybe it's different exercises or maybe different eating styles, different meditating styles. Life is fluid. It is up and down. So if your life as a whole, up until now, has been up and down, if you feel like some days, some months, some years are up and down, just know that that's part of this human experience. We don't expect, especially where I am in the Pacific Northwest, we don't expect it to be one season all the time. There are places, of course, on Earth that, exist primarily in one season all the time. But even within that season, there are ebbs and flows. There's tsunami season, there's, tornado season, there's all these different things that are always ebbing and flowing. If you moved somewhere that had tornadoes and then expected there to never be tornadoes, you would be going against nature. If I got mad every time it's transitioning into fall or into winter or into whatever, I'm resisting what is. So in our lives, I want to first of all start by saying it's normal to have dark phases. Even within a month, everybody has hormone cycles, but I know there's a lot of women listening. We go through the seasons in the month with our hormone cycles, no matter where you are. Men have the same thing in a different way. They have hormone cycles. There's the night and the day. There's, what happens to our circadian rhythm. So really what I'm saying is life is always ebbing and flowing and changing. And sometimes as a human, it feels like things are bad because maybe we're sad or maybe we're stuck or we're dealing with loss or we're dealing with our wounds coming up. And sometimes it's easy for us to feel like it's bad and we should be in the light. But if you even look back in your life over the last 5 years, over the last 10 years, over your whole life, there just have been highs and lows. And if you look back, you go, yeah, if there was a kid asking you advice or someone in their early 20s, like, is life always going to kind of be ups and downs and highs and lows? And you might say, yeah. A marriage that lasts 60 years, there's going to be highs and lows, right? Someone that is committed to fitness over their entire life, there's going to be times they worked out more and did different things and, had an injury and had to rest. And there's always going to be highs and lows. So this past year, as I've been sharing with you guys, has been one of lows and now highs. But there have been major contraction phases, full-blown dark night of the soul. Again, I know I've been sharing, I'm not going to go too repetitive into all this, but there have been days where I woke up and thought, I don't know if I have the energy to keep just like going, to keep facing this day. Because sometimes life feels so heavy, like we're being squeezed, like we're being pressed, like we're being suffocated. It can come from external circumstances. It can be something happening inside. It can be both. But there are times when things feel very heavy. And from the outside, somebody could find my podcast or my Instagram and everything looks fine, even though I do really try to always be incredibly authentic. If you actually listen to the episodes, and I don't mean actually listen, but I mean through what I'm saying, I'm always sharing how I'm kind of a mess, but I'm also moving forward and we all can be both, So I try not to present it like, oh my God, life is so amazing. But from the outside, it can look like that. I'm in a marriage with my soulmate. I have kids. I have this beautiful home. I live on this cool island. I'm doing my thing, showing up. I have clients. I have a business. And that looks great. But I'm also Talia, who has been through a lot of shit, who has had trauma, who has felt small, who has suffered being in my body, suffered with an eating disorder, suffered with chronic pain, being bullied since before I can basically remember, complicated relationships with women, complicated relationships in general. And maybe you can relate that we have both light and dark. Yes, I'm brave. And yes, I go out and create my dreams. And I've been in business for over 10 years. And I have this podcast and I just hosted a retreat. And oh my gosh, yes, I'm totally meant to be a light for others. But I also have a full-blown shadow in my own life too, right? Histories, patterns, trauma responses, times I constrict, times I'm really faced with my own stuff. And because I've always struggled to love myself, to accept myself for who I am, which was the eating disorder and everything around that, everything since that, everything before that, being bullied, feeling not good enough, sometimes that stuff comes up full blown in my life. And I start pulling away from what's good for me. And I'm not meditating anymore. And I'm not going for walks. And my body hurts. And I feel overwhelmed and overstimulated. And oh my God, do I even have what it takes to heal? And I'll be like, oh, it feels like I have to heal this mountain of stuff just to be okay. And that was real too this year. Those times that feel so heavy, it feels like your past pain and your current pain and all the shit. And then the reality of like, well, what about money? Or what about health? Or what about this? Or what about, and it all feels too much. This is part of the process. You, for some reason or another, like me, chose growth, chose awakening, chose healing, chose ascension as part of this lifetime, or you wouldn't be here. So knowing that you're scrappy and you chose a life of growth means that there are going to be times when your past pain comes up because you are ready to heal. You're ready to see something. You're ready to move through that. So the dark part is part of the process. And when you're in that goo phase or the in-betweens, or when it feels like life is crashing or we're freaking out or we're on the floor hyperventilating, it doesn't feel like, hey, right now I'm becoming a butterfly. Like, it doesn't feel like that in the moment. It feels messy. It feels endless. It feels like everybody else is out there doing cool shit and I'm crying on the floor. But I promise you, those times are initiations into that next level. And whether you can relate to this right now or you've been there before, I know you can relate. Times when we feel messy and small and tired, it is part of it. So in my book, you'll read about the processes of transformation, or the process of transformation. But as we get to these depths, there becomes a day where we start to enter the shift. And for me, it got to the bottom where my body hurt. I felt disconnected from mostly everything I was doing in my business, which is why at the end of last year, I stopped doing all the group stuff and all the stuff and just focused on the podcast, on the path, created the app. Just really, I only wanted to do the things that really lit me up, doing one-on-one work, just only doing what I loved, let go of a lot of stuff. But in the time of like feeling disconnected from all these things, and again, my body hurt and it felt like money was just stressful and I'm overstimulated in my life and all this stuff, I'm not trying to gloss over it, but of course you weren't in every day. I can't share every single day and every single thing, but I got to a point where I was so in my suffering that as I shared, it's like, I don't know if I have what it takes. And I stayed in that for a little bit. And then one day, I kind of started deciding, okay, for now I'm here as a soul. These are like starseed problems. You may be able to relate, but sometimes we have to be like, fuck, fine. I'm here for this time. Fine. I'm here in a meat suit as a human, choosing to do this life. I may be extra sensitive. I may be an empath. I may have a lot of wounding, but I am here. And it wasn't glamorous and it wasn't all at once, but I started deciding if I'm going to be here, I'm going to live. I want to be an active participant. Fine, if I'm called to heal my body, if I'm called to rise up, if I'm called to be brave and lead and really step into looking after myself, in the big things, in the small things, having my back, bringing this healing full circle, as we've been talking about on the path this month, bringing healing into action. And I lived what I teach. I lived what my spirit team shows me as the path, the work I know, the nervous system work. And I decided, fine, if I'm going to be here, I don't want to be here in suffering. And there's a quote that I've said a million times. If you've been around the block, you've heard, I love to say, or not love to say because it sucks, but it's very wise. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is a choice. And when I got to the bottom of my suffering, I went, fine. Pain is inevitable. Sometimes things suck. In life, we deal with a fluctuating economy, with loved ones, passing or things happening. Curveballs happening, but to suffer is the choice. And that's when I decided, no, I am going to be the deliberate creator. So from there, I was very mushy. I was very soft. I was very overstimulated. I was very blown open. I wasn't like strong and in that fierce energy yet that you might hear right now. But what I started doing is started going, fine, I want to live while I'm alive. If I'm going to be here, I want to live. So what can I do to start making myself feel a little bit better? And I discovered baking bread. And some of you that have been following along, I've talked about it. You've seen on Instagram some of my loaves. But it was like the most simple pleasure of like, I've never really baked bread before. It was rewarding. It was creative. My family was like, this is really good. And it was like this thing that wasn't heavy. It wasn't about my business. It wasn't about making money. It wasn't about what am I going to do with my life. It was simple. It was meditative. And I'd put on music and bake bread. And I was like, ooh, it made me feel grounded. My husband encouraged me and I started going to yoga again on Mondays. Yoga's been a big part of my life. But when I retract, when I get too much in my darkness, I pull away from so many things that are good for me. So I started going to yoga. I signed up with a pass and like signed myself in to every Monday. And I started doing that. And now I've been doing it for quite a few months consistently. But there were times I just laid in Shavasana and just cried with gratitude that I got myself to my mat. I started going for slow walks. My dog loves to walk. I live out in nature. Just going for walks, letting nature hold me, whether I felt frustrated or good. I started running on days that I felt good and I felt like I love running or going for bursts of runs and I feel free and I'm in nature. And I was like, oh, this feels good. I started taking my supplements and just making small promises to myself to say, we're going to take our magnesium, we're going to take our B vitamins, we're going to take those things that we really notice make a difference. And even if I was going up to bed and I realized I hadn't taken my vitamins, I'd stop and make myself go back downstairs, even though I wanted to go to bed, and take my magnesium. I started having more baths with Epsom salts, small choices every day. A 10-minute walk, saying something in kindness and grace. I started asking myself every day, what do I need right now? What does my body need or my mind need? Even with the business, toward the end of last year, I just said, I'm just done right now. I'm done with Zoom meetings and as far as like group programs and all these other things. I really want to do the retreat. And I completely let go of all the things that didn't feel good. And I went into like, this is what I know I need to do. And I talked about that in the identity piece a couple of episodes ago. Maybe it was the previous one, I forget. All about how the retreat like shifted my identity and I had to take brave action and then regulate because I was scared and nervous and then take another piece of, another step of brave action. But there was a point where I decided, fine, like arms crossed, like a kid, like fine, if I have to be here, I'm going to enjoy myself. Fuck it. I'm going to go all in on myself. And I started lightening my life, bringing light in. Watching funnier movies than true crime. I love my true crime, but there were times when I noticed I was in this darker space. And as I said, with baking bread, it's simple, it's rewarding. It just brought me pleasure for no reason. There was no outcome. There's no pressure. Going to yoga for me. Going on walks for me because I felt good. So if you're in the place of anything I've already been talking about, one of the biggest things we can do is to focus on one small choice every day. And even if you've been feeling amazing, take one small choice every day that expands you, that is you going all out for yourself. Just one pocket in the day where you show up, where you get in that higher energy, or if you've been feeling low, where you get in a peaceful energy, where you get in a simple pleasure with no pressure for it to be something and to be the thing and be productive and be spiritual and be just stop. What feels good? Every small choice is a vote. It's a vote for your future. It's a vote for the future you want. So as I moved through that toward, I don't even know now what month, it doesn't really matter, but toward the first quarter of this year and started going, fine, if I'm going to be here, I'm going to live. And I leaned into these small choices and I started to notice my energy shifting. I would say to myself, I'm going on a walk because I love myself enough to give myself a walk. That's why. I'm going to drink water. I'm going to take my vitamins, even though like I'm so ready for bed and I really don't want to go back downstairs. I'm going to take them because I love myself enough to take them, because I'm choosing me. I'm reversing my wounds. I'm showing up for myself. Because one of my wounds, my core wound, leaves me feeling alone no matter what. Even if my husband's there and even if I'm physically not alone, I will feel alone. And then when I get in my darkness, I feel like I'm the only one who understands and nobody gets me and I'm alone on this island. You know, I mean, I'm physically on an island, but I more mean inside. But as I started leaning into these feelings, I'd say, I love myself, so I'm going to go for a walk. I love myself, so I'm going to make this choice. I'm going to do this action. And then I started to notice the words coming into my mind and into my body. As long as I'm here, I'm never alone. Like deeply, I am here. I am here for you, Talia, is what I'm saying to myself. Therefore, you're never alone. And as I leaned into these small choices and my energy started shifting, I started noticing a lightening. My mind felt more clear. My spirit felt more alive. I started to feel a little bit more silly or light or creative. I started noticing my body felt more agile. I was focusing less on pain. And as I started making the choice for the retreat and actually booking things and all of that, there's so many roadblocks or times that shit came up. And I really could have said, like, never mind, too much work, too overwhelming. But I kept choosing the retreat. I kept choosing me. I kept choosing to show up for myself step by step. And a rebirth started happening. As we walk through these phases, as again, you'll read about in the book, it's so good. We move through these phases of goo and resistance, and we make these small actions and we anchor into that next level that we want for ourselves. Everything starts changing. As Wayne Dyer says, change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change. And as I started to move toward this retreat and people started signing up and it started to become, now it's like months away and we're making payments and all this stuff, it became real. And it's like, oh my God, what? This is happening? And the magic came back online. Not just because of the retreat, but it was this like simultaneous journey that was going on within myself. And momentum is real. Momentum is physics. These are the laws of the universe. So as you drink more water, each day it piles up. It just does. It's just truth. It's just physical. If you go for a 10-minute walk every day, by the end of the week, you've had 70 minutes of walking. And that adds up. If you did that 2 weeks in a row, every day, 10 minutes, by 2 weeks, you'd have 140 minutes, over 2 hours of walking. It adds up. Shit adds up. And it reminded me of that. The rebirth isn't somewhere perfect. It's about showing up for yourself through the mess, meeting yourself with grace, meeting your times of crunchiness with love, with compassion, and choosing to be here, to be the deliberate creator. Because we can stay in suffering, but that scares me. Not my suffering, but to never move out of that. I don't want to be struggle forever. Who would I be if I wasn't suffering? Some of you guys remember this. This was years ago. I had that breakthrough. Who would I be if I wasn't struggling? Who would I be if I wasn't the struggling one, even within myself? Who would I be if I was limitless? Who would I be if I wasn't weak and stuck and broken? Not if I wasn't, but if I didn't identify as that, if I didn't wear that suit. So the rebirth isn't arriving somewhere perfect, but we do have to choose it, because everything you do adds up. And every time your brain goes back to why do I sabotage and what's wrong with me, that adds up too. That adds up into anxiety. That adds up into panic. That adds up into more law of attraction of that. We have to get to the point where there was an episode a few years ago, When You're Sick of Your Own Shit. A lot of people love that episode. Because we get to a point where we are in that and we go, I may not even totally believe myself. I may not totally love myself yet, but I want it. The person who gets so unhealthy that they go, that's it, day one, I'm getting healthy. They go to the gym or they go for a walk that next day and they're not yet healthy. It's the grit that moves you through. You're not successful before you choose success. You're not peaceful before you choose peace. It's like people say, I can't meditate, my mind's too busy. It means you need meditation. I can't do yoga, I'm not flexible. It means you need to get flexible. Do you know what I mean? We don't have the marathon runner with the marathon runner physique and fitness level before they've ever trained. You keep choosing. And the rebirth is the stacking of everything and how it adds up and starts overflowing into your life. And everything is changing in my life. Even my husband saying, like, the way you be, the way you respond to things, where it feels like your head's at, your energy's at. My body's like releasing tension, releasing weight. I'm doing nothing different. And I've released a bunch of weight. I don't even know. It's like weirding me out in a good way because I can feel the magic. I can feel who I truly am being at the forefront. But I also feel a significant reduction in pain. And the second I start feeling pain, I start going, okay, what do I need? Oh, I need to lay down. I need to take my magnesium. I need to drink water. I need to go for a quick walk. Okay. And I just do it. So it's like I'm meeting the pain, with less resistance, with less anger, with less frustration. Because again, pain is inevitable. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is the choice. So as you navigate your own process right now, these are some reminders. Your darkness is not an ending, it's an initiation. Your darkness isn't this bad place you've got to because you're so off the path that now you're so dark. It is actually part of it. And I'm going to share something that I hope translates into words that my spirit team shows me. And part of it has a very gross analogy, so I'm just going to warn that. But they show me that our darkness comes out because we are calling so much for a better life, whether it's health or joy or a partnership or happiness, whatever. We're calling for that so much, but there's something inside of us that isn't conducive energetically. And it's going to be maybe we don't, see that in ourselves, or we're focusing so much on lack or scarcity or not loving ourselves, or something that is completely at opposite of what you want. So when we call out into the deep, dark night that we want something so bad over and over and over, our darkness has to come up as a loving way to show you this is what is in the way. So if you were in like a car race and your engine just was not powerful enough and everyone's always beating you, and some car racing coach is like, hey, you need an upgrade in your engine, you wouldn't be like, oh, screw you, like, oh, I'm so bad and wrong. He'd go like, or she'd go, no, you just actually need a more powerful engine. So something is within us that is blocking us, directly contradicting what it is we say we want. So that will come up. Your pain will come up. Your crunchiness will come up. The self-sabotage will come up because it's getting you to move through it. You have the tools, you have the awareness, you have the capability, even if it means reaching out for help or doing, like, you are fully capable of taking the next level. So it's going to come up so that we can move through it. It is an initiation. I'm not just trying to sugarcoat it by saying like, you're fine. No, it comes up. So the gross analogy that they've shown me, I'm so sorry, everybody. I'll say it briefly because it's gross, but like a pimple, or like if you have to throw up, something has to come out of you for the betterment of your body. So if there's a pimple that has to be like popped, gross, it's because there's an infection inside. There's something in there that needs to come out. If you have food poisoning, it has to come out of you to restore your wellness. So your darkness is sometimes squeezed out of you because it's not conducive to where you're going. And there's something in there that needs to be surrounded with love. So sometimes we are called into deeper seasons of healing because there's just that thing inside that's that direct contradiction. But as we meet it with love and as we put the healing into action, it dissolves and we surge forward. As soon as you're back to feeling good from food poisoning, you're good. After you've had a flu, there's actually like a surge of energy of like, I'm back, because the impurities are gone. So it's only these little blocks, like blocks of energy, that stop us, not this whole big thing of being broken or incapable or I can't do it. Our darkness will come up as an initiation for that next level. So a couple years ago, in wanting to host a retreat but being nowhere ready, I was ready in content, but my physiological body, my nervous system wasn't ready. My emotions weren't ready. But in preparing, all of a sudden, all this stuff started coming up with when I was bullied several times and girls bullying me and all this stuff. And I was like, why is this coming up? It was so weird because it felt like, okay, that happened when I was a teenager. Yes, it had been a big impact. But I realized that in getting ready and thinking about hosting a retreat and in becoming that person, because it's mostly women that are going to be joining my retreat, I noticed that there was a strand of me that was scared of putting myself in a circle of women, scared of being bullied, scared of being rejected, scared of being, rejected by the tribe. And I had to work through that again. And I realized that. And I got to move through it. And now hosting the retreat, I've cleared so much of what was scaring me on a deep level because it came up. And as it comes up, I learn to meet it, which is what we talk about here on the path. I give you endless tools, but this is what we do. This is moving through the process. So a takeaway is that your darkness is not an ending. It's an initiation. What is this asking me to look at? What is this asking me to move through? What is the light remedy to this darkness? I also want to remind you that healing and ascending and becoming abundant and manifesting and all of this isn't glamorous, but it's sacred. And I look back at the me in like February on the floor crying and rolling around in my own pain and probably crumbs and cat hair on the floor. It was not glamorous. But I am so proud of myself because I met myself with love. I cried for my inner child, not crying because I felt so bad or broken. I held myself. The amount of times crying, I'd be like, I love you, Talia. I love you, Talia. I love you, Talia. Like I put the work into action. I always practice what I preach and teach, but it was like hard to do that because I understand that it's not always easy to be like, just go toward the light. I was tested. Like, can I actually choose that when everything feels like it's crumbling? Healing is not glamorous, but it is a sacred invitation. And sometimes you might want to get support. Like the women that came to this retreat just felt this surge and it wasn't glamorous. We had tears, we had, ups and downs, and it's not glamorous, but it's sacred. It's your sacred initiation. It's your sacred process. I also want to remind you that rebirth and ascension and this growth isn't a one-time event. And as much as I wish it was, I wish there was like the one masterclass that would change your life forever. It is a choice you make over and over and over again. Putting your hand on your heart, giving yourself that love, regulating your nervous system, choosing yourself, going on the walk, drinking the water. We make it over and over and over again. But just like any routine, at first it feels like we're like, oh, I have to do this again, but soon it becomes second nature. And anybody that's been committed to something for a long time, health, fitness, meditation, going for walks, like whatever it is, even if it's like a hobby, maybe you take lessons or you sing or you play music or whatever, it's over and over again that adds up. And that it becomes natural. At first trying to learn the guitar, like your fingers hurt and it's so awkward and you sound awful, and then you pick up momentum, and now learning a new song is not very overwhelming. But at the beginning, it was like, what? All I know is D. So like, what do I, So it's like anything else. Small choices add up. It's not a one-time event. It's a choice you make for yourself, for your life, for your growth. And when my clients come to me, I notice that that is the point that they're at. I am ready. Yes, we walk through healing and we integrate it with real life choices and practices and actions to move you forward over and over and over. And the last takeaway I kind of want to say is whether right now you're feeling powerless or powerful, I want to remind you that you are the deliberate creator of your life for the good. Nothing you've done is your fault. Anything you're experiencing now, I'm not saying you're the deliberate creator and you did this, because we are always a mix of our light and our dark. I've made questionable choices. I literally was on the floor earlier this year for months, by the way. It wasn't like a Sunday afternoon breakdown. It was like months of finding it hard to face life, finding it hard to keep on going. So we all have this. But whether you see yourself as powerless right now or a powerful creator, I want to remind you that you are a powerful creator. And you're so powerful to the point that whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. Whether the last few months of 2025 are going to be the best or not, you're right. Whether this is your time to rise or not, you are right. So I want you to ask yourself, what is a small choice you can make that supports your light, that supports your dream, that supports your well-being from wherever you are? Sometimes it's getting out of your comfy clothes and into something that makes you feel good, taking a shower, brushing your teeth. Sometimes it's going out and applying for that job, asking someone out on a date, starting the process to buy a home, to start a business, taking the walk, signing up for Monday night yogas. Do something for yourself that puts the healing into action, because you are the deliberate creator. And all it takes are small choices to turn the tide. From darkness into light, we are the yin and yang. And in the yin and yang, even in the light part, there's that dot of dark, because we are both. We are a mess and we are powerful. There is light and there is dark. There is ego and there is higher self. The choice is yours. Which wolf are you feeding? Do you remember that? Either that story, or I have an episode that's called that, Which Wolf Are You Feeding? And it's so powerful. So wherever you are in the process, keep going. The magic is also here. The magic is not separate from the struggle. It's birthed through it. And it's also here. There's a sunrise every day. There's 11:11 every day. There's a potential to find a dime or see a butterfly or get a compliment or have a hug or have an amazing meal every single day. There is the light even within the dark. You can be going through a dark time. You could be in the black part of the yin yang, but also have that speck of light in there. So keep going. And if you want support on this path, a couple things. First of all, I have some spots for Catalyst mentorship. If this spoke to you, if this gave you goosebumps, it's for you. It's 2 months of in-depth work. We're starting soon. So it's really about moving you forward, integrating the healing into the forward momentum so that you will be a different person on the outside. And not that we need to change you, not that it's me that holds this power. It's supporting you through your rebirth. With spiritual guidance, tangible tools, ongoing mentorship and coaching, it is definitely for that person who is ready and knows they're here for big stuff. We also have the retreat waitlist that I mentioned at the beginning. Get on that. Can you imagine being in person? How powerful this is. Your cells will activate on a new level. I cannot wait for that. And if you're looking for something a little bit more do it yourself, we have On the Path, which is the ongoing education. This is where we move you forward faster with tangible tools, clarity on what to do, monthly themes. It's hosted on a private podcast, and it's me taking you through this journey, being your mentor, and helping you with the what do I do to move forward. So On the Path, you can check it below. You can actually also get, I believe it's 7 days free. Yeah, 7 days free On the Path. If you join, you can check it out, see if you like it. And then for that person dipping their toes and looking for more meditations, press play rituals, maybe some journal prompts, some articles, we have the Path app, which I'm so excited about. You can try that free as well for 5 days. So depending on where you're at the journey, we've got the tools and practices in your pocket with the Path app, the ongoing education and mentorship of On the Path, and then we've got the in-depth transformation of the retreats and the one-on-one work. So depending on what works for you, I would love to see you in any and all of these containers. I also have a very special 21-day experience coming up called Life of Magic. That is going to be released any day. So if you're all about this magic, make sure to check that out. Once it's available, I'll put it in the show notes, but it may take a few days from the time that this episode is launched. So with that, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for showing up for yourself, for choosing to grow through what you go through, for choosing to be here in this community. Oh, it's so good. Thank you, my love. And until next time, keep leaning into the magic, and I will see you in the next episode.